Hey, this is Eduardo, and welcome to the Philly Show.
Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zalecki. It is Tuesday, August 26th, 2025. It is the Philly Show. Hope everybody is doing well. We've got what we like to call a special episode today. It's kind of a standalone. We're going to, later this week, believe me, we're going to talk all about Phillies Mets later this week. A lot of stuff going on in this Mets series, of course. But today, guys, we caught up with Phillies player development director Luke Murton. Let's start right there with the Parks first pitch. Parks first pitch is brought to us exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. So we caught up with Luke Murton, farm director, player development director. We hit on all the main guys, right? Andrew Painter, Aidan Miller, Justin Crawford. What was most interesting when you think back to our conversation with Luke? What kind of stuck out to you guys?
Well, it was great to talk to him. It was almost like a progress report because we spoke to him in the offseason. Very articulate guy, doing a good job with that system. I really liked hearing a lot about Aidan Miller and his evolution as a base stealer. The guy's going to end up with 50-plus bags at Reading this year, and played a lot of shortstop, exclusively shortstop, and they like what they're seeing there. They think he can stay there. I was also interested to hear that they're going to maybe bounce him around the diamond a little bit next year, maybe a little at third, a little at second. I thought they would do that with him this year, but they've kept him at short, and they're happy with what they're seeing. Just hear so many good things about that kid, Aidan Miller. It was nice to catch up on Crawford and Painter as well. What jumped out at you, Ruben?
Yeah, for me, it was really about Andrew Painter and the fact that, he's had a little bit of a difficult season and, developing still as a pitcher. But the fact that he basically said he still believes he's one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. I don't think he's lost any confidence in this kid's overall ability long-term to be a great starting pitcher, top of the rotation type arm. And I think that was a little bit of a telltale, just because hasn't had the kind of season so far that has been expected of him. But he has no qualms about what he's going to mean to this organization long term.
You never know. Like every prospect develops differently. Think back to Mick Abel last year. You would have said there's no way Mick Abel could get you a closer like Jhoan Duran, the way he was pitching. And, he got things turned around this year, and they ended up trading him, of course, and Eduardo Tait to the Twins to get Jhoan Duran. So, this is a great conversation. I think everybody is going to enjoy it.
No question. First pitch brought to you exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. ParksCasino.com is the website. You must be 21. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Phillies fans, whether you're sliding into home or just chasing your kids around the yard, staying mobile matters. That's why we trust Rothman Orthopedics. From sports injuries to joint replacements, they keep you moving. With top specialists who care for the best team and the best fans in baseball, Rothman's got your back, because at Rothman Orthopedics, your mobility is their mission. Visit RothmanOrtho.com to schedule today, or just scan the QR code on your screen.
FT fam, welcome to the world's most comfortable swimwear. For a moment, we are talking about Fair Harbor. We actually have some show and tell today. This is the liner that you're working with inside of the shorts and the bathing suits.
You know what the best part is about this, Scott?
What?
They have a lot of different options, because these are clearly yours, because I would never order this pattern, but
that
they
is
look
so
great
me.
on you.
That is so me.
These are so you. Mine are a little bit more plain than this.
Yes.
But they are super comfortable. The liner, I love liner shorts. Some people don't. But these liners are better than most that I've had on, if not all of them.
Yeah,
Because
this is the best liner out there.
No mesh. All of the above is perfect.
Exactly. It's really good. You got to give it a shot. Also, fun random fact, you get a new shirt. It smells really good. So head to fairharborclothing.com/foul and use code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Once again, Fair Harbor, HARBOR clothing.com/FOUL for 20% off your first purchase, and use that promo code FOUL so they know FT sent you.
Luke Murton, welcome back to the show. You are our first two-time guest on the Philly
Awesome.
Show.
Congratulations.
Well,
Checks in the mail.
Big honor. Glad to be here. Excited to be here.
This is great. So it's the second half of the minor league season, of course. The Phillies get through the trade deadline. And I wanted to start with this. You were in Chicago for the trade deadline. You know, all the top Phillies brass and just kind of wondering what that experience was like for you. You know, they trade obviously Mick, Abel, and Eduardo Tait, two top 100 guys, to get Jhoan Duran. I mean, what can you kind of tell us about that experience from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like it was an honor to be a part of it with the Phillies and somebody like Dave Dombrowski, who's been doing it as long as he's a Hall of Fame executive. But it was fun. It was a good experience. I mean, at the end of the day, like I feel like we walked out of the trade deadline and our team got better, which was very exciting. The group felt like we needed to solidify the back end of the bullpen, and you never want to give away players because a lot of times the players you're trading are the players that you like and that you think are valuable as well. But sometimes, you know, that's just how the business works. So it was good. I mean, I was really excited to get the player. He's done great since he's been here. He's a great player, and we're excited to have him.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned, I mean, Duran's been a great acquisition here. Nobody's going to ever complain with it. But as a player development guy, does it tug at your heart a little bit to say goodbye to a Mick Abel, who you guys and your staff worked really hard with? Same thing for Eduardo Tait. What's the emotion like having to say, you know, goodbye and good luck to people you're fond of and you've worked hard with?
On a personal level, obviously, you know, it is hard to say goodbye, but at the same time, I mean, if you're really looking at the best interest of all the players, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, Mick, Abel, and our team's probably a little bit further along than the Twins are right now. I mean, from a standing standpoint. So you understand, like, moving guys like him, they're going to get more of an opportunity with a different organization. So sometimes it's, you know, you don't like to say goodbye, but it's win-win. So it's a good opportunity for the players. And Tait, you know, obviously has done a great job, and you've seen him grow, and he'll continue to grow. And you know, he's a little bit further away, but he'll play himself into having an opportunity, you know, whether he was here or there. So really, to me, I know players probably, you know, getting traded, they feel some sort of way, but at the end of the day, I do think, you know, it's a good opportunity for those guys as well. So, you know, you can look at it, it's best for us and best for them in some ways. So it's not as hard to say goodbye when I look at it from that perspective.
So in the case of Mick Abel, I mean, he was a guy that had struggled some for a little while. Yeah, obviously had high expectations for him when you first drafted him. And then he sort of turned things around and put himself in a position to allow you to move him for such a talented piece. How much gratification, that process, talk a little bit about what happened in this transition to get there. And can you talk a little bit about how it made you feel personally with your group to be able to get him there so that they could make that move?
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy that's ultra talented that, you know, had pitched very well leading up to 2024 AAA, and he got there, and it was probably, you know, AAA is different. I think, you know, the ball changes a little bit, or no, the ball changes, and then you have a lot of veteran players, and I think, you know, ultimately, sometimes I think in today's game, I think we, not the Phillies, I think in general, we rush players and expect them to be where we want them to be, you know, 3 years from now. That's not always how it works. So this year he came out and he worked hard in the offseason. He committed to attacking the zone with his stuff. Our pitching group did a phenomenal job of helping him like recenter his mind and figure out exactly to trust his talent. And, you know, I got to see him early in the year, and I was like, hey, this guy, he looks different. Like it was one of the first times I'd seen him where, like, okay, I see a tangible change in his intent to pitch in the zone. And I remember, I forgot the guys, I think it was Garrett Cooper in AAA, hit a home run on a fastball, like the third inning. And then the next at bat, Mick went straight back at him with a heater. And I was like, okay. Like he basically just showed me that, you know, he's kind of taking that next step in his development. Anytime you see a player that, you know, grows and continues to get better throughout their career and their year, it's awesome to see. So definitely excited with him. And I know I haven't like looked a ton since he's been traded, but I have seen some stuff pop up. He's been outstanding since he's been over there, which honestly, you trade a player and I will root for them as much as when they were with us because you have a relationship with them. So very happy with where he's at and what he's been doing over there as well.
I was up in Lehigh Valley a couple weeks ago talking to Anthony Contreras about Andrew Painter, of course, because everybody wants to know about Andrew. And he said his experience with Mick the year before is kind of helping him in terms of, how to look at, develop, work with Andrew Painter. And I'm wondering, that's a question that Ruben, Jim, and we can't walk anywhere without somebody asking us, what's going on with Andrew? When do you think he's going to be up? Is he going to be up? Could he be part of the 6-man rotation? He's had some ups and downs, but he's also, less than 2 years removed from Tommy John, or a little bit more than 2 years removed from Tommy John surgery. How do you kind of categorize his season, or how would you explain to people what you're seeing from Andrew Painter so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I would deem it as a success. I mean, at the end of the day, like, he's pitching, he's healthy, he's throwing a lot of innings, he's getting experience that he hasn't had yet in AAA. And I think if you asked Andy, he'd say, hey, I'm not doing what I want to do. And that would be the answer I want the player to say, because as players, you want to have the highest expectations. I think going into the year, I think Andy's one of the best prospects in baseball as far as pitching. I mean, I've been fortunate to see Bubba Chandler and a lot of these guys throughout the year. What's the guy's name? I'm blanking on the guy's name with Detroit. The second pick,
Jackson Jobe.
Yeah, Jackson Jobe. I've been able to see all these higher end prospects. Andy's one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. I think there is something to be said. I think externally, the expectations on Andy were, when's he going to be up? What's he going to do? I would say a little unfair, but understood from how talented he is. So for us, I think, there's a lot of silver lining in what he's been doing this year. I think he's continuing to improve and he's continuing to get better. And, I think at the end of the day, Andy's going to be where we all want him to be one day. He's just not there right this instant, and that's okay.
I always felt like there's guys that had to go through a struggle and just come out over the on top of that struggle to really grow and to become the player they can be. Do you feel like that's happening with him right now? The learning experience of, one, being in AAA at a pretty high level, and two, getting his body into a place where he can be more consistent?
Oh, no question. I think everybody has that learning curve. Very few guys zoom through fast enough to get to the big leagues where they never hit it. And then usually when they get to the big leagues, they hit it. So to me, understanding how to overcome adversity and overcome challenges, and a game kind of the one thing I do believe is our job as player development is to put everything in front of them to help them develop and become as good as they can be. But in the same breath, I do think the game helps develop the players. Because to this point, up in his career, he's just zoomed through, and now the game is presenting new challenges and new opportunities for him to get better. And I think that's where he's at right now, and he's learning how to overcome them. I think he'll continue to learn, and then he'll go where we all want him to go.
More from Luke Murton in a minute. Guys, we were just at Parks Casino last week. We had a great time. I had a great steak. Jimmy had the Chilean sea bass, but there's always a lot of stuff going on at Parks Casino.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Todd. It's all happening this summer at Parks Casino. My casino of choice, as always. Parks is Pennsylvania's #1 casino, and there's action, excitement, headline entertainment, and great restaurants. Plus, all summer long, swing by the Bet Parks Sportsbook for every Philadelphia home game. Playing the Mets again this evening, and really important to check it out. But also really fun. They can enjoy the ultimate Philly fan experience there. $1 dogs and $3 Miller Lights. That's right, $1 dogs, $3 Miller Lights, and wall-to-wall action on the 150-foot giant video screen. Plus, check out concerts, comedy, and more at the state-of-the-art Excite Center. Been there a few times for a couple of different things. Really fun. And a collection of award-winning restaurants: Parks Grill Steakhouse, Bamboo Noodle House, and the Liberty Bell Gastropub and Beer Garden. Great spots. Parks Casino, this is how you win. ParksCasino.com for tickets to all shows. You must be 21. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
How's his frame of mind? Because you mentioned there were big expectations coming in. He's going to have a great career. This is a great learning experience. But there was a lot of talk that he'd be here contributing this year, the quote July-ish, and it just didn't happen. What's his mindset? Does he feel like is he disappointed that it hasn't, happened for him this year?
Yeah, I mean, I know he's extremely focused and he's extremely geared to, control what he needs to control. from a personal standpoint, I'll be honest with you. When I've talked to him, I've kept it lighthearted, just because at the end of the day, from my perspective, there's plenty of our people that are talking to him about, you know, what he's going through and, you know, as far as his development. But from a personal standpoint, to me, it's like I look at him as a young kid that's continuing to develop. So I don't want to put personally the pressure on him of the expectations of, hey, you're not doing what you need to do, or are you disappointed? I've kind of kept it lighthearted, knowing that our staff, our pitching group there, our you know, pitching brass, so to speak, is doing everything they can to help him. I've kept it kind of lighthearted. He seems like he's in a good frame of mind. I mean, I saw him pitch the other day, and the game was a little quick to him the first inning, and Andy, you know, slowed down and dominated the rest of the way. So it was good to see.
You it looks like, are you surprised the control hasn't come around, or is that something that you see with young guys coming off Tommy John?
You know, I'd say this. I'd say he's walked more guys than I would have assumed, but he still controls the ball better than most guys. Like when I watched him pitch the other day, I don't have numbers to back this up. When I watched him pitch the other day, I felt confident he was going to throw strikes. I felt confident he could throw the ball where he wanted to. I think it's more just a matter of him learning how to pitch and navigate at that level versus there a little bit of questions on his control. I don't have any. I think he'll have 70 command one day. So I think he can throw the ball. For a young kid, he really can throw strikes. I think the matter of him throwing some balls, right, more balls than we would anticipate, is more just, you know, him trying to understand who he is and how to navigate a lineup and pitch through a lineup.
So, Luke, I was curious about this. I know that, you know, these young pitchers, some of them, especially like in the case of Christopher Sanchez, for instance, very, very tall, a lot of leverage. He actually grew a ton after he signed. And number one, is Andrew Painter still growing? Number one. And number two is it taking him maybe a little bit more time than we had expected because of his size and the levers and the leverage that he has as a physical specimen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's gotten taller, but I do think he's gotten bigger and stronger. And he's, you know, trying to find his body a little bit more. From a scouting perspective, I know scouting director of the Dodgers, works for the Padres now, Logan White, always talked a lot about pitchers, and the bigger they are, the longer it takes them.
Yep.
And sometimes it takes them to grow in their body and find it. I definitely think that's part of it. I think that, and then the injury, coming back from the injury, I think guys, sometimes the stuff comes back before the command comes back. So I think it's a combination of those two things that, I mean, it'll look a lot different heading into next year, I feel like, than it is, you know, necessarily right now.
Luke, we were just talking before you hopped on and talking about Aidan Miller, and Jim made a great point. He's like, man, what a great sign to have a young kid like that getting stronger as the season goes on, as it gets down to the end. He's not fading. I mean, you look at his numbers in June and July, and I'm sure you were like, hey, what's going on with Aidan? What's going on with Aidan? But this month he's hitting over 375 OPS, almost 1,200. What can you tell us about what's going on with Aidan Miller over the last month compared to maybe what he was doing the two previous months?
I think we're just going to sit him out because last year in August he raked too, so he's just not going to play till August moving forward. He'll be the best in baseball. No, I think what happens, you know, I think he's a very talented player, and I think sometimes like it's taking him a little bit longer at a new level and get settled in. And I mean, again, expectations are extremely high for him, and they should be. I mean, he's very talented, and you know, I think what happened is he was kind of surviving at the level. When I say surviving at the level, I mean, he's 21 years old, was, you know, 720 OPS, somewhere in there, and he, you know, stealing a lot of bags. And I think he just basically is getting on a hot streak and kind of figuring out some more things about himself and understanding who he is. And, you know, he's really taken off. I mean, you look at his year right now, we could look up at the end of the year and he's got an OPS north of 800 and stealing 50 bases playing shortstop. It's a very small group of players that are doing that. I think we can look up and everybody can say, hey, he had a tremendous year. And really at the end of the day, like, he's continuing to improve. The biggest thing for him is him understanding who he is. And I think, you know, last year he did a great job of like learning a lot of things. And now it's becoming a little bit more of his identity as a player, and he's understanding who he is as a player.
Has he firmed up in the organization's mind that, yes, he is a shortstop and he's going to come to the big leagues one day as a shortstop, or can stay there, you know?
I would say yes. I think this year's been a big year for him. like I'm pretty candid with him. Like at times, like I have a pretty good relationship with him. He surprised me at shortstop this year. I probably shouldn't say that, but like he's played very, very well. And I would have said in years past there's a chance he can play shortstop. I would say now he can play shortstop.
Wow.
I think he's done everything he can do, and I think he'll continue to get better. And he looks great there. He made a play the other night. I was at the game in Altoona. I don't know if you guys saw it. The Robert Moore flipped. It was a 4.63 double play. It was the flip was a little off. Aidan came across the bag, full speed, barehanded through the front. It was unbelievable.
I did see that on social media. I got a chance to see that play. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was impressive. And I watched on video, and I was like, yeah, in person was that much better. It was very, very impressive play.
So I also saw him make a play. I think it was one of those future games that they play in spring training. I saw him make a play, backhand play in the hole that was just extraordinary. And I've talked to Larry Bowe about him, who obviously knows shortstop play pretty well. And he really believes that he can play shortstop. And that's a great thing to have. I guess my follow-up question to that is, I think he's athletic enough to move to other places. What's your feel on where he could go as far as the future for the Phillies is concerned, with regard to the fact that, you got Trey Turner playing an excellent level of baseball at shortstop right now?
Yeah, of course. I think that's one thing we probably look into a little bit more next year, and moving him around the field. Play some third, play some short, play some second, just to give him more experiences. I mean, that's the one thing that's always a little bit of a struggle with players, in my opinion, with his talent, is you want to play them at their best position, or their best position to play in the big leagues. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of really good players in the big league, especially with the Philadelphia Phillies. So sometimes you have to look at it and, where does he fit for our team? I don't think we've gotten there yet. I think at some point next year we might start to explore that a little bit more.
But he fits as a contributing big leaguer somewhere, no doubt.
Yeah, no question.
Very cool.
You mentioned Aidan at the end of the season, he could maybe get to 50 stolen bases. You have 4 guys right now. Our friend of the pod, Steve Potter, I saw this in an email. 4 guys with 40 or more stolen bases: Aidan Miller, DeMartini, Crawford, Rincon. You have a couple other guys approaching 40.
Yeah, Nori's getting close too, right?
Nori's getting close to 40. Is this just a byproduct of you have some athletic guys that can steal bases, or is this something that you guys are really hammering to these guys? Be aggressive, try to steal bases, get your confidence, because this could be a real weapon for us whenever you get to the big leagues.
Yeah, I would say, like, first and foremost, it's the player's ability to have instincts, to run, to be able to do that. And then I do think, like, Gary Cathcart, our base running coordinator, is doing a phenomenal job with these guys. I can tell you Aidan Miller stolen base story this spring training we're going through, because one thing I looked at last year is I felt like I didn't like how much we were getting thrown out. And I do understand, like, when you steal bases, you have to understand when you can run, when you can't run. But, like, giving away outs, not a big fan. But from a development perspective, understanding that, hey, we have to learn when we can go and when we can't go. So at the beginning of the year, Gary Cathcart came into the office, and we were going over red light, green light guys, and guys I felt comfortable with. And we got to Aidan Miller, okay? And Aidan knows this. I told Cat, he's like, hey, he's a green light guy. I'm like, hey, he's not a green light guy. Like, he can run a little bit. He's not going to steal bases in the big leagues. Like, don't waste his time. Don't waste mine. Don't do it, right? And he's like, Luke, just trust me. He can steal bases. And I'm like, I don't think he can. Like, but okay. If you really want to do it, you can do it. That's fine. When I go in 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, I'll probably tell you can't steal bases. You don't know what you're talking about, all that stuff. I go in and I see him in Binghamton, and he gets a jump, and I'm like, he gets a good jump, and he runs pretty good. I'm like, oh, pretty good. Like, how many bags does he have? Like 23. I'm like, he's got what? He got 23 bags? And they're like, yeah. So then I called Cat, and I apologized, and I said, good job. He definitely can. And, I'll tell you guys this story. I won't tell anybody else. It was my idea that he should steal more bases. That's what I'm going to tell you. Yeah.
Exactly right.
But, yeah, so they did a good job. And I do think, Cat's done a good job. And I do think Michael Jones, our first base coach in AA, does a phenomenal job. Everywhere he's been, guys have done well. And he seems like he really helps those guys understand pitchers and tendencies and all that kind of stuff.
So the thing that he does, I mean, I obviously coached in the big leagues and was a base running coach and such for a couple of pretty good ones. Is it an instinct thing for him? Is it a first step quickness? What are some of the pluses that he has and the abilities that he has that makes him a good base stealer?
Yeah, and as you know, like for guys that steal base, they have to run enough. And I think Aidan runs a 55, 60 clip, but I do think the instincts are what's kind of taking him over the next edge, the next step, right? I think in the day his anticipation of when to go, his first step, and then he's got enough speed to carry that over. But I have been impressed. I do think guys that can steal bases in general, their instincts are typically better. If an average runner can steal bases at a higher clip than another average runner, they probably have better instincts. So that's the other thing that's exciting me about how many bases he stole is I do think like his understanding of the game and game situations is really improving, which you obviously hope to see from a high school guy, but when it happens, very excited about it.
How about another guy who can move a little bit in Justin Crawford? What's your kind of take on his season? Every time I look up, he's got 2 and 3 hits.
Yeah, he's been tremendous. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Justin, he does nothing anymore to surprise me. I think all he's ever done is hit. He hits over 300 every year. He's been tremendous. He's continues to get better. Every step I've seen him, like when he's got some of the best. I think we talked about this, before the season. He got some of the best makeup in the organization. And I'd say in like of minor league prospects, he has some of the best makeup. He's tough. He's resilient. He's not scared. He's gone out there and been tremendous and improved in every aspect of his game, and couldn't be more pleased with where he's at right now.
I was just curious, what do you tell the people who, he's got a lot of infield hits, a lot of soft contact for hits and that kind of stuff. What do you tell those people who are, the doubters about this guy? Because I love the fact that he's got the kind of bat to ball skills that are necessary for his type of game. And talk about his overall, bat action, bat contact, that sort of stuff, and what kind of player he can be in the big leagues.
Yeah, he's obviously unique in the sense of like he probably does hit more ground balls than a lot of prospects or a lot of big leaguers as well. But he's got a knack to find the barrel. He's got a knack to compete in the box, and the pitchers, when you watch him, like they get him out one way one time, and the next way it's like he finds a way to find the barrel. I think at the end of the day, like I do think over time that he will start to understand how to hit the ball in the air a little bit more. And he has power. He's got plenty of power. But I think, and again, like one thing I said earlier is like, as far as the game hasn't slowed him down yet. The game hasn't told him he can't hit the ball on the ground as much and get hits. And as a player, it's hard for me to look him in the eye and say, hey man, you need to do this. And he's, he kind of like, hey man, I've hit 320 every year. Why do I need to do this? And I completely respect that and understand that. And I do think over time, he'll continue to learn how to hit in the air. And, we may come to a point in his development that, the game tells us he needs to hit in the air a little bit more. But until that time, I think Justin needs to be who Justin is and continue to perform and be a huge asset to every team he's been on to this point.
We were kind of thinking at several points this season that we were going to see him in Philadelphia. How close did it come? How close is it? And, when do you see him arriving?
Yeah, I mean, he's right there. I mean, he's one of the guys that you look at every time that you have a need. I do think it's been very close this year for him. And, that's one negative, I guess you could say, for somebody like him playing on a team that as good as we have. You look at a lot of other teams, frankly, probably be up just because that's how it works. But, Dave and Preston, the group's job is to put the best 26 men on the field. And, you can make an argument he's in the 26, but right now it's just he's right there close to it. And we're excited about what he's doing.
Tell us about his center field play. I know he's working through it. Is he a better center fielder, left fielder, corner guy? How do you feel about his overall defensive development as well?
Yeah, he's doing good. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like he's played probably an average center field. He's still understanding, learning angles and jumps and stuff like that, like any young player would. And roll with Rojas being down. One thing that he's had an opportunity to do a little bit more of even lately is play left field. And he's done a great job playing left field. He's taken to it quickly, which is a good thing. I think, just like kind of we were talking about with Miller, I think these guys play center field, they play shortstop, and then you start looking at the major league club, and that's not always how it works. So I do like where he's at defensively, and I think the corners he's looked good on, and he's continuing to get better. And one thing that when you put a challenge in front of Justin, and he's going to take it and do the best that he possibly can to continue to get better.
If I could, I mean, I'm sorry, Todd, I stepped on you. With Eduardo and Tait moving on, I was just curious about the state of catching in the organization. What do you think of it? I've heard a little bit about this Farabis guy in Abel. How do things shape up behind the dish?
Yeah, I think Faribault is a young player that has a lot of talent. He's a good ways away right now, but has gotten a lot better defensively. Offensively, he has power, he has strength. I do think he's continuing to get better. One guy that I'd like to highlight is Caden Hediger. He's had a very good year in high A. He's done a great job catching. So we're very happy with where he's at. But I mean, yeah, I think Tait was, our best catching prospect. And I think we have a lot of other interesting guys. Probably nobody at his level. But I do think, as we go, we'll see how these guys continue to develop. And catching's tough to me. Catching's one of the hardest things from my perspective to evaluate. Because I do know that a lot of these guys kind of seemingly come out of nowhere more than other positions. So we got to continue to giving everybody the time and development and see where they take it.
Jim and I were talking with Preston maybe a few weeks after the draft, and we had gotten a lot of questions about Gage Wood, and people automatically, as soon as he got drafted, said, "Oh, he's going to be up in September. This is going to be one of those guys." He's not pitched in the game yet down there. What can you tell us about where he's at in terms of, is he going to get into a game at some point, or what's going on with Gage Wood?
Yeah, so the plan's for him to get in a game. Excuse me. He's been throwing bullpens. He's going to throw live to hitters this week, and then we could see him in some game action here coming up soon. We got to see how the lives go, and then we'll make a decision. But yeah, we foresee him pitching in some games this year. I don't know where, in a sense of I'm not going September to the big leagues like a lot of the fans are, but I think he'll start in Clearwater, and we'll see how it goes.
Are you going to start him, or are you going to be stretching him out, or I guess it's sort of a spring training type development, correct?
Yeah, we're going to start him, but as you know, we're not going to be able to stretch him out too far because there's not a ton of season left. Right. But do want to get his innings up a little bit higher heading into next year because he's as a starter next year.
So I wanted to ask a question about Aroon Escobar. I know that he actually is represented by my brother, so yeah. I have a vested interest in him as a person, and I got a chance to meet him at the ballpark this past weekend. I was just kind of curious how his development is going, and he seems like a great kid, just having met him for a short period.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's great. He got a ton of talent. He's a very good player. We're excited about him. I talked to him the other day, and he's had a long year, and we want him from an off-season standpoint to not play baseball. And the player between winter ball and the fall league, I mean, he fits both those things with the opportunity to play them. He was not real happy with me, but it was good. I was actually you walk out there, he was annoyed. He was a little, I say a little mad. Because he wanted to go play. And quite frankly, I walked out, I was like, that was kind of good. They're like, well, he was mad. I'm like, well, great. A young kid wants to go play. That's what you want from players. He's talented. He's very, very good. We're really excited about where he's at and really excited about where he's going. And, I couldn't be more pleased with what he's done this year to this point.
Is it more power? Is it bat to ball skills? I mean, I know he seems like a pretty advanced hitter from what I understand, but I was kind of curious what his overall game is like.
It's kind of all of it. I think he can hit and has power. Good combination. And then I think defensively he fits second. He's played second base mostly this year. I think third base is an option. I think he fits more in that second base, third base mold. But he's a guy that you look at, it's top of the order bat that can stay on the dirt. So it's a very, coveted skill set and tool set that he has.
Luke, you talked about Gage Wood. I mean, it looks like he's a real bulldog. Have you gotten to dive into the makeup at all?
Yeah, I mean, I know our scouts loved him. I love the competitiveness in the guy, and I've got to talk to him a couple of times. He definitely seems like a very nice, competitive kid. The one thing I do I always try to stay a little bit weary of is seeing these guys early and watching throw bullpens. There's a big difference between when that hitter steps in the box. So I personally am trying not to draw too many early conclusions. I know he's done everything we've asked him to do. He's constantly looking around and figuring out ways he wants to get better. That's one thing I was like, hey, this guy's around everywhere. And they're like, yeah, he just wants to be good. But I'm looking forward to seeing him on the mound and seeing him get some hitters this week.
Okay. You don't want to draw early conclusions. That kind of eliminates my next question. Anybody from the draft jump out at you, but is there anything you can tell us that a newcomer that you like?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm excited. I'm really excited about this draft class. I mean, I think we took a lot of pitchers, right? So they're obviously throwing bullpens. Then the one we a couple position players that have already played over in Clearwater. We got a young kid from New Jersey that's getting his feet wet over there. That Matt Farrar can run, has some power, and plays on the dirt. So we're excited about him getting some at bats. And we drafted a kid named Logan Dawson, who's a 3-sport athlete. He's at the complex right now from Jersey as well, and he's had competitive at bats over here. Is looking good. So we're excited about those young guys, and the pitching we'll probably see more of in the next week or so, and most of them next year.
Luke, when we had you on, I think it was last November. I asked you if there's a player in the system, maybe an under the radar guy, top 30, maybe not top 30, that doesn't get a lot of attention, that you're like, I think more people should be on this guy. And you said Otto Kemp. And obviously Otto's tremendous story, came up, made his big league debut this year and has contributed. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you who is right now maybe that under the radar guy in the system that you're like, I'm telling you, keep an eye on this dude because he might be making some noise in a year or two.
Yeah, I'm going to go pitcher this time because I know the pitcher's better now. I'm going to go Ramon Marquez. He's a young arm that we have that was in Dominican this year to start. Pitched in the FCL and pitched in the Florida State League as well. We shut him down just after his last start because of innings. But he's a right-handed pitcher. I think he's 20 years old. He's got good arm strength, like 94, 95, with a really good changeup. And the slider is the one that the pitch is developing. But I do see him as a guy that has a good arm, throws strikes, a young guy with enough stuff. So I think he could be a guy in a couple of years that we're looking up, and it's maybe a back-end starter look to the Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Kind of cool. Very nice. Hey, so I did want to ask you one question about Jhoan Rojas. He's come down to the minor leagues now, and it looks like he's raking, number one. And number two, I understand that he had a little bit of an adjustment as far as his overall hitting stuff. How did that what happened with him, and what was the discussion about getting him into a better hitting position?
Yeah, I think with Jhoan, obviously, ultra talented player. What's funny is because you got a guy like Adam Lind, who's the AAA hitting coach. He's seen a lot of big league players over his time, and he hadn't spent a ton of time around Rojas in the past. And when I talked to him about Rojas, he's like, "Man, this guy's really, really talented." And a lot of us already know that because we've seen him play center field. And he's like, "This guy has power. Like he's got a lot of ability to impact the ball in batting practice and has the potential." So I think with Rojas, it's a matter of just helping him get comfortable. Obviously, you get in the big leagues, and a guy like himself, he played well early up there. Then he struggled a little bit, and he's trying to survive. But I think ultimately making sure that he's getting into his positions, the good positions that he needs to get to, and everything's connected. I think the biggest thing with him is him understanding of how to get behind the baseball. I think him getting behind the baseball with the barrel versus him getting behind the baseball with his body. I think has an understanding of what that feels like and what that looks like. And I do think that's something that he's focused on working on, is really, I'd say, how to get connected and how to get behind the ball. And with doing that, I think the quality of contact will improve. And he'll get, some more balls in the air. And that's one thing I always struggle with from a development perspective is hey, guys hit too many ground balls or guys don't hit the ball in the air enough. It's more, how do we get more efficiency with your swing? And then I think the swing efficiency will will help the quality of contact versus, hey, you just need to hit the ball in the air to the pull side. It's no, you need to get connected and behind the ball, which will help you get the ball in the air. And, he's had a great attitude. I saw him down there last week. He's working hard, and he's definitely, I hadn't got to spend a ton of time with him since AA a couple of years ago. And it was cool to see, the maturity of a couple of years, what it's done for him. And I think, he's a young kid that's continuing to grow as a person. It was very, obviously you don't want to see a player come back from the big leagues to AAA, but, to see how much he's changed as a person was encouraging to me. And I thought it was pretty cool.
Luke, last one for me is kind of a two-parter. Griff McGarry had a couple really nice starts with double-digit strikeouts, low walks, and then another guy who some people know about is Mavis Graves. He's been on a heck of a run lately in Jersey Shore. I was just looking up his numbers. Last 7 starts, 0.56 ERA. So McGarry, first of all, and then Graves, those two guys, and kind of what they've been doing recently.
Yeah, I mean, McGarry obviously knows extremely talented. He's got a really good fastball. his stuff's in the zone, it can beat anybody. He's done a great job of getting his stuff in the zone with more consistency, and the results have shown. And then with Graves, he started off. He pitched down here in the Florida State League. He pitched great last year. He's got a really good slider, and went up there this year and pitched very well early. Pitched okay early, and then the last, like you said, 7 starts, he's been tremendous. And it is cool to see, especially a pitcher that is getting stronger as the year goes. There's a lot to be said about that. And, both those guys are exciting. We look at Graves, a 6'5" lefty with a good slider that strikes a lot of guys out. That usually ends well for us and for him. And then with McGarry, again, a guy with his stuff and his ability to get the ball in the zone, once he does that, as he's doing that with more consistency, you can see the success. And we're excited about what both those guys are doing right now.
That's awesome.
I did have one personal question. I know this has been a sort of a new position for you throughout the season. How has the year gone for you personally? How have you? What are some of the things that you've learned over time being in that position, being the guy with the black hat, so to speak? And just tell me how it's been for you being the director of player development for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I'd say first and foremost, genuinely thankful for the organization I get to work for and the people I get to work for, because it makes everything easier. From John to Dave, Preston, everybody on our staff. I think the better staff you have and the better people around you, the easier it makes your job. And I do feel like, we have a very good staff from top to bottom. And from a personal standpoint, I've learned a lot, which, is kind of what you anticipate your first year in a new job. And hopefully in every job you're continuing to learn. But it's been good. I would say there was a lot of things early. I remember it's what's called the DRL, which is 100, how many players you're allowed, per the organization. It's 165. But I remember early we're in a meeting and they keep saying DRL. And I'm like, what's the DRL? What does that even mean? They're like domestic reserve list. So we've come a long way since then. I'm starting to understand some of this stuff, but it's been good. I've been, a lot of things. I've been fortunate to this point in my career to have a lot of experiences in the game. But I would say this job's taught me a lot of things as far as, rosters and, this guy up, this guy down, and you're managing, 6 teams, 7 teams between the DSL up to AAA. So I've learned a ton. I've been able to, still be a part of the scouting side, which has been something that I've, been fortunate to be able to do. So it's been a good year. It's been a very busy year. And then, like I told you guys before we got on live, I moved down to Florida, so that was interesting. So it's been very busy, but it's been awesome. It's been fruitful. The major league team's been playing great, so I'm looking forward to continuing this year strong from a personal standpoint, and looking forward to learning and continuing to grow next year as we go, and hope to improve personally and professionally as the organization grows.
Well, Luke, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate you coming back on the show, and hopefully,
maybe I'll be the first 3-time guest one day.
We would absolutely love.
We'd be honored to have you thrice.
You know what? Professionally, that's one of my goals this year. I'll be the 3rd-time guest.
We can make that happen.
We will make that happen. We appreciate it, Luke. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.